I was going to get a chance, and I am about to interview and have a conversation with President Marshall Stewart. Now, President Stewart's a new head. He's got the keys to NDSU. Dr. Stewart, good to have you on News and Views.
Well, thank you, Joel. It's good to be with you. It's good to be in Fargo. It's good to be in North Dakota. But more importantly, it's good to be at NDSU.
Someone or somebody made you, or not made you, encouraged you or you yourself to get in front of a computer and type a resume and say, you know what? I want to be there. I want to be in North Dakota. What was it?
Well, if you go back, it was not a long-term dream of mine to be a university president. It was really about 2019, thereabouts, when the president I worked for then at that time, Dr. Moon Choi at the University of Missouri, said to me, I think you should consider doing this someday. He said, because I worked for him. I was a vice president, vice chancellor there, and he said, I think you should. So he and then later Rich Linton at Kansas State University, where I was most recent, really put me in position as a cabinet member to learn, to see things, to experience things, to give me huge challenges that other people didn't want to do. Fast forward, last November, late November, early December, right around Thanksgiving, I got a call from a recruiter from NDSU, with a search firm, and they said, you've been nominated. They never told me who. They said, somebody has surfaced your name. You're a land-grant guy. You're a person that we think would be a good competitor in this. Would you think about it? Fast forward from that, they called me back after the first of the year when they had the materials together. And I looked at it, sat down with Jan, and I said, this looks really intriguing. And it's land-grant. They are R1. They're an institution that deeply believes in service mentality to serve the state, 53 counties here. I think this might be one that we ought to look at. So we agreed, because it's two of us, to get in this thing and made a run at it. And there's been two things out of that, Joel, I will tell you. You were asking me before we went on the air, how's it feel? What's it like? There's been two things that's really come out of the last 90 or so days in this job. One is that I have absolutely been affirmed that I'm where I'm supposed to be at this point in my life.
That's good to hear.
And the second thing is that it's been so invigorating to meet just hundreds of people that care so deeply, from students to faculty to stakeholders to business leaders in this region, not only here in North Dakota and Fargo and across the state to Medora and on out, but also over on the Minnesota side. We've spent some time there because we have so many people that really love this place and are deeply connected to it. And that, to me, is affirming, and it's invigorating, and the future's bright. And I'm really glad to be here.
I used to use NDSU as the example to challenge individuals who say, you know what, once kids go through higher education, they're more apt to, or we're going to lose them. We're going to lose them to other states. We're going to lose them to, and I would say just the opposite. I'd say, get in my pickup with me and let's go find out how many NDSU grads are your neighbors. Yeah. I mean, they're here, they're succeeding, they're in business, they're in farming, I can name you instantly 5 of my best friends that are all farmers that all graduated from NDSU.
And it's in the farming, agricultural sector, it's in the tech industry, it's entrepreneurship is off the chart. We have had so many people come to our institution, and I've met so many of them that, and I think part of it's being in this part of the country, they had to create something, they had to create work, they had to create jobs, they had to create innovation. And that entrepreneurship innovation theme, whether it's in the farm or in the business or in tech sector, is so strong here. And it just, to me, speaks of what the impact that the university has had, but more importantly, the impact it can have. And they do stay. Even when we bring people from out of state, we have a lot of people, a lot of students that come here, and they stick in this community. They don't leave, and they really grow businesses, families. It's a great place to live, and it really, I think, has great promise for the future. So
I'm talking about what's running now. I'm not talking about the big picture where you take a step back and you say, okay, I'm talking about how it physically runs and what it's doing. What do you see that you like?
Oh, I like, the number one thing will always be the people. But one of the things that really intrigued me here when I came to interview, because I had not spent a lot of time here. I'd been here 2 times. A couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I came and did a presentation for a regional conference that Extension was doing. Regionally for about 8 or 10 states. They had me come up and do a presentation on the future of the land grant, interestingly enough. And then about maybe 10, 15 years ago, I came and spoke at an Extension conference. So I hadn't spent a whole lot of time up here. But when I came here to interview and I saw first, right up front, the infrastructure, let's just start there. the quality of buildings. We just opened the Bali Ag Research Building. We're getting ready to open the Arfendal 65 Engineering Building. When I look at the infrastructure of where we can teach our young people, what we can do there, that's exciting. So many universities struggle with that. There's been a great investment. I credit the state, our philanthropy, for pulling together and making that happen. That's intentional. And I think that when I traveled the state and I saw the infrastructure at the research extension centers across the state, incredible, great pride of place. They've invested well. They've got great. So that ability, if you just start there, exciting. Then you go beyond that. You look at programmatically at the work we're doing through New Horizons, really looking at some of the new areas we want to go into with autonomous vehicles, AI, working in spaces like more human health and having human health administration degrees, things of that nature. Niche areas that workforce needs, economic development opportunities are there. So this university is already moving in some great areas. My job is to refine that, sharpen that, bring on greater partners with the legislature, with philanthropy, and really grow this institution forward. So I guess I would frame it, a lot of good bones here. We got the bones, the infrastructure here.
So then let me ask the opposite side of that question. What's not running right?
Okay, great question. One of the things you'll hear me talk about, and this is not unique to NDSU. I have been, again, in some great institutions, North Carolina State, University of Missouri, Kansas State. But one of the real structural issues we have oftentimes is we're organized, as we should be probably, in disciplines, colleges, units. And what it does to the external side, it looks somewhat fragmented sometimes. You get into the university because of a relationship, maybe not having a central door to go through. And we have athletics, we have all these pieces. They're all good. One of the things you'll hear me talk about, and it's really cultural. I want to really bring this community together, one NDSU. One does not mean we're all the same. It means we're one. We're united. And we come together and we build together. I want to see more interdisciplinary programs across colleges. The problems in society are not simply engineering problems or simply agriculture or simply arts and sciences. They are issues like water. Water is one that's on the right now in the state. Right now, a lot of conversation on water and drought. We have assets in arts and sciences, agriculture, engineering, probably in HHS, health and human sciences, and I know in business, 5 colleges that could work across lines to help bring new technology, new ways of thinking around the area of water. That's an example of where I think we can go into, and we need to do more of that because the people of the state and the people of the region, the people of the country and the world want us to solve problems through our research portfolio, and we need to do that. So I think it's going to be a lot of opportunity in that.
There it is. She gets to play the song that Dr. Marshall Stewart wanted to hear. Of course, Abby is a graduate of North Dakota State, and he's the new head of it. He's got the keys. He's the president. Dr. Stewart, let me ask you this. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. This is all factual. Dean Brashani said the campus was going to get to 18,000 students. It didn't. He didn't get it even close. And so how important is that? Is these targets? Is this whole, hey, by this date, I have to have 14,000 students? I mean, grade yourself ahead of time on that.
Well, I think it's important to have targets. I don't have a problem with that. And I can't speak for the past. All I can look is to the future. We do need to grow. There's no doubt about it. We have capacity to grow. Now, I think there's a couple factors we have to look at. One is, I don't think you need to set a date. I don't think that's important. But I think you can grow by reframing what we think of a student experience as a learner experience. So let's think about learners. That's a broader piece here. You've got the on-campus student who we think about the 18 to 22 or 24-year-old who comes in, works on that. That's always going to be the bread and butter. That's always what we want to have because that student experience beyond the classroom is really, really important. That's a sweet spot. But then you go beyond that. When you think about learners, you've got people in this state that partially finished a degree that would like to come back. Maybe we can provide that through online learning. Maybe there are, and I've talked to industry partners actually in the last 90 days here about the opportunity to buy seats in certain courses where they want their employees to have certain competencies that we cover. That's another way to do it through credentials, micro-credentials, certificates, stackable credentials. There's lots of ways to touch people. And what we have to do in higher ed, not just NDSU, but I think the industry has to do, if you think about us as an industry sector, is we got to think about that differently. I do think we can grow. I think it's going to take time. One of the things that we're facing, I think people hear about this all the time, is in 2026, there's an enrollment cliff nationally. We are actually, it won't hit here for a few more years because of just demographics and the way we are structured here in Fargo and in this region. But I do think over time, we're going to have to be mindful of that. And one of the things that I'm big on, and I just had this conversation actually at the NDUS system level, is we need to be a magnet. Universities need to be a magnet for bringing talent here, because we know if they come here and get an education, a lot of them do stay. And so I think we have to get beyond the idea of just saying at the 18, I know since I've been on the job, people ask me, I think it's very reasonable that someday we could be in that 15 range. That's for me. But again, I haven't put a date on that. And I think that's really important that we grow toward that. I do think the online piece is going to grow. And I think a lot of that needs to be concentrated, though, in this region, this area, to serve the industry and the workwork's needs, the economic development needs here.
Let's talk about person A. Okay, he's incredibly good with his hands. He's built for land grant institution. He knows how to farm. He knows how to ranch. Okay, you've got the guy in your head who I'm talking about.
Yep.
So that individual is sitting there. There's nothing for him to farm. He's got three brothers and only one can farm, obviously. And so he's sitting there looking at being able to work along that same lines that he's passionate about. But this job over here pays him as much as what he would get after he graduates from your institution. Talk to him. Why should he go to NDSU rather than come out of high school and just go to work?
Well, I think if you look at data trends over the course of time, we know that people that get more education, be it a certificate, a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree with us, or whoever it is, we know that the earning power of that over time does grow. That's national data. That's not something I create. We just know that. That's fact. Now, what we have to do is make sure, though, on our side that we're mentoring that young person in the right way. We can't just let them come in and say, well, this looks cool, or I can do this. We need to sit down with that young person, give them good advising, help them graduate. One of the great statistics we have is, on average, a 4-year degree student graduates in 3.8 years. That's a powerful thing. I didn't learn that till I got here on the job. Now, a lot of
that's a change.
And that is a change, and it is something that's good, though, because they're bringing credits in. That helps us. So what we have to do, though, is look at that young person, this young person you're talking about. What if I was to say to them, well, a 4-year degree, that may not be for you, but maybe we could put together a set of courses that would be a credential or some type of certificate that would fit your needs. Maybe you do some of that at the community college. Maybe you do some of that with us. Let's do that. It is not about just us. It's about the state. Our job is to serve and to serve the best interest of the people who live here, the taxpayers, who are our biggest donor. If you collect the taxpayers of this state of North Dakota are our biggest donor, and we need to serve them. Also, our friends across the border here in Minnesota obviously bring us a lot of students. We need to serve this region in a smart way, and that means listening to them, doing what's best for that student. And if it means coming to us, great. If it means going somewhere else first, coming to us. If it means coming to us and then maybe going somewhere else to finish, it's not about us. It's about them.
Is higher education too expensive?
Oh, I think in many cases it is. And one of the great things here is if you look at national data again, I think the cost of attendance here is about $27,000, $28,000 a year. And nationally, and when you look at that and you go, wow, that's a lot. Here's the good thing, though, and I give our NDSU Foundation a lot of credit. We have great philanthropy here. Our folks have worked really hard we now provide more scholarships overall of any institution in the state. We bring in more dollars. We're now working internally to make sure we distribute those more smartly to make sure those students with the highest need get it. We're also looking more strategically about how we work with that student to ensure that if they do need to get a loan, whatever that may be, that they do it smartly. We don't let them take the $25,000 they qualify for if they only needed $500, and that has happened, unfortunately, in a lot of places in this country. It is expensive. It's an expensive endeavor, but I don't think it has to be out of reach for anybody. I think everybody can have a chance. I think it comes back to us personalizing, working with that student, being with that parent. One of the things I've learned since I've been here is that for the most part, and this was not unusual, I went back and looked at other institutions, a lot of the scholarship information doesn't hit the student until they apply and then probably know they've been accepted. Then they make a decision about scholarships. That scholarship information needs to be at the kitchen table when they're sitting with their parents making the decision about where to go to school. We're going to change some of that because that's really where it impacts the student and impacts the decision about not only whether they go, but where they go.
I'm getting a chance to get to know and visit with Marshall Stewart. He is Dr. Stewart to me. He is the president of NDSU, and we're talking about his new job, his new role. Before the break, we talked about hanging on to quality and talented staff and how hard that can be in today's private sector workforce, where they're looking for that staff and they want to steal them from you. Call it stealing, or slavery died, and so they get to go where they want. But my question of you is this: how do you hang on to them?
Well, I think first of all, we have to make sure that obviously the first thing you think about is a salary and a compensation, and that's your paycheck. We do think about that. And the benefits. One of the things that I noted here is that employees have a nice benefit package. Actually, you do here compared to other states, I can tell you. So that piece, and I give the state a lot of credit for that. As state employees, we have that. But I think it's more than that. What if you I'll use faculty first. They're looking for a quality space. They're looking for who they get to work, who report to. It has a lot to do with leadership. People will stay. I've seen people stay in places where they could have gone somewhere else to make more money, but they knew what they had, and they really liked working with the people around them. So it's culture. When you get down to that, it's leadership culture. So the way you hang on to people, it's not only the paycheck, although that's extremely important, and we need our partners in the legislature to continue to work with us in a thoughtful way around that. But it's really more than that. It's the culture. If we got great faculty that are really doing great work in the classroom and doing great work in research, we need to make sure they have a great lab. Now, we have that, but do we have the right faculty in the right labs based on their productivity? That gets a little sticky in my world when you start moving people around, but we're going to probably be looking at some of that, honestly, and I say that publicly because we got to make sure that it's not just the check that you get, it's also the environment, the quality experience, knowing that the university, the leadership, the administration is supportive of them, will advocate for them. People look for other things, and I think that we at NDSU can really lean into that. This is a great place. The other thing I'll tell you, this is a sidebar. Jan and I, we came up here for this interview, and she was with me, and I'll never forget when the chamber here took us around on a quick tour. This town has a lot to offer. It does. This is a great place to live. Now, granted, I haven't been here in January and February yet, and I hear about that, and that's coming. But somehow you guys survive it, and I'm reminded that there's an entire country above you, and those people do just fine. We've got to sell ourselves differently. This is a vibrant community. If you take West Fargo, take Moorhead together, it's a fantastic area to live in. We got to lean into that. And so it's more than just the compensation, whether it's faculty, it's staff, whatever it is, we got to make sure we sell the whole package. And part of that's going to be recruiting strategy. We got to bring people in, let them experience it. And then I think they'll want to be here and be a part of the culture that we're building at NDSU.
Do you see UND as competition?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked it. I've already had the conversation with Andy Armacost there, the president, and I've already told him, and I think he'd agree. We're going to be complementary. We're going to be collaborators, but we're not competitors. I don't think of them as a competitor. When I think of competitors, I think about the premier sort of leading edge land-grant universities in the country. And I'm not going to name those because I don't like to name other schools when I'm representing my school.
I don't mind SCSU being competition.
but I'm after the big ones. Yeah. And I want, and let me tell you, we can compete with anybody in the country. It's just like in athletics, they're moving to a new conference, different competition. You're not going to win them all, but we're going to win. This is about taking this place to that level where those land-grant universities, you can pick your state. I've named 3 of them already that I worked at, where they look at us and say, why can't we be like NDSU? We want to be like that. Why can't we do that in engineering? Why can't we do that in arts and science? Why can't we do that in agriculture? We can play at that level. We have the people. We got the infrastructure. We can bring new talent in, and we can absolutely go head-to-head with anybody in the country, academically, research, engagement, all the core functions of the institution. We can do that. And that's one of the things, going back to your early question, what attracted me here, I know we can do that. And that excites me about what we can do with people here and working with people to really achieve excellence in every aspect of the institution.
So I look at your resume, and what I see is a high school teacher.
You got it.
And I see a high school teacher that taught ag. And now you're running, the pride and joy of North Dakota and its land grant institution. That connection between ag then and still being involved in education now. Talk to me about that.
Well, I was very, very fortunate. I grew up in eastern North Carolina. Jan and I both did. I went to NC State. She went to Chapel Hill. And even though that, we were in different teams maybe back in if you think backwards, today we're happy to be Bison. But when I go back to that, I was really grateful. I always will be grateful for 3 high school agriculture teachers, Adolph Warren, Charles West, Weldon Faircloth, changed my life. They told me, you're going to NC State. They told me that. That's where you're going to be. You probably should think about being an ag teacher. You'd be a good one. They had no idea what they were doing for me, with me, to me at that moment. That grounding in agriculture, that grounding in rural America, because I grew up rural. We didn't have a city limit in my school district. And I connect with that very deeply personally. And it's a personal drive. I want to help people through the land grant institution have a chance. If you look at land grant really is about ag. It's about all the things we think about rural, but it's really about economic mobility and social mobility. Because when the Land Grant Act occurred under Abraham Lincoln, fast forward to 1890 when it started here, there have been generations of people that have had the opportunity to do economically better and socially better. They moved up. It created what we today think of as a middle class. It didn't exist in 1862. There was an affluent 2% at the top and everybody else. That over time with other things transformed America. To be a part of that today, to think about what's needed in this country more than anything else is to expand the middle class, to give more people an opportunity. Land grants do that. And the Land Grant University enables me personally to do what I love to do, which is to serve, lead, and grow others. That goes back to me being an ag teacher. If you think about me being in a high school ag classroom, advising FFA, doing all those wonderful things, which I love still, being in those things, serving as a state director of agricultural education, FFA, having the chance to lead 4-H in North Carolina as well, doing all those things fundamentally, though, connected me with people, grounded me with people, enabled me to think about how do I open this door that was opened for me by 3 high school ag teachers. And really today, as I think about it, Joel, I'm still opening doors. It's still about that. I don't have to tell them where they're going to go. I don't have to tell them what they're going to achieve. I can guarantee you that Mr. Warren and Mr. West and Mr. Faircloth had no idea that I was going to be a university president, but they knew he can do something. And all we got to do is open the door and get him guided. Then other mentors pick me up. I am so grateful. I could, if I had the opportunity, I could put a wall up, and it would be my Mount Rushmore of leaders who have invested in me, given me a chance, put me in difficult situations, things that nobody else in universities wanted to handle. They throw it at me and say, can you fix this? A budget model, or dealing with, just gnarly things, reorganizing an ag research center network. I did that in Missouri. I did the budget model at K-State, putting me in difficult situations. And it goes back, though, to hard work, ethic of grit, which is something that plays really well here in North Dakota. These people are gritty out here. They got grit. And out of that grit, that hard work, doing the hard things, good things happen. I am privileged to be president, but it is an honor, responsibility, but I get to do it. And it's not the end game for me. I want to continue to serve. I want to continue to work and grow and be I continue to contribute in many ways as I continue in this role.
So for 21 years, I've been leaning into this microphone and talking about how important agriculture is and how it is the foundation that this state I love is built on. Mm-hmm. Oil, obviously a huge role in the state, and we've benefited immensely from it, but it's still an ag state, and it will always be an ag state. And when I think of agriculture this year, and I see the charts when it comes to precipitation this year, do you think NDSU does a good enough job? Now, I'm talking about with the general public, not with farmers, because I think farmers get it. They saw what happened with their dads and their granddads and all of that. But in a year this dry, if there wasn't the science that goes into crop production and seed production, if that wasn't there, as dry as it is, there'd be no crop out there. I mean, when I drive by cornfields right now, I think of NDSU in places like that because The hybrids, what you've been able to accomplish is the only reason there is a crop in a dry year like this.
There's no doubt about it. And we need to do a better job of helping those that are a generation, 2 generations, 3 generations, 4 generations away from the farm understand that. We don't do that well. We don't do that well in agriculture. We don't do that well in land grants. We got to do a better job with that.
Because it makes you invest in it then.
It does. And people really, and the connector on that, we use the word agriculture, and so many people have sort of a stereotypical view of what agriculture is, and they think about, obviously, sort of a historic view of that. What we have to do is bring that forward and talk about food and how food connects with nutrition, how food connects with health. We live in a great country, and our food is affordable. And even though it's higher today than maybe it was a few years ago, it's still affordable. It's accessible. The safety precautions we have around the food system in this country are incredible. We get nervous when we see some kind of outbreak of something in whatever crop. But on the other side, think about living in another country where they don't tell you. You don't know that's going on, and people are suffering because of it. This country has the greatest food system, agricultural system in the country. And what's interesting, Joel, if you track back where that started, when Lincoln signed the Land Grant Act, people were farming not because they wanted to, they were farming because they had to. It was survival. They moved the land grant system from 1860s going into the ag experiment stations, which we call research centers, in 1887, which that's when that really started, federal funds for that. 1914 with extending knowledge into agricultural communities. That's when that's really got going. All land grant. Land grant universities transformed American agriculture and made it a business. There is no doubt, if there wasn't for the land grant, agriculture could still be subsistence farming, and that is not what we want. And I think it's a tribute to the land grant, and I hope your listeners, regardless of their background, have an appreciation for what our researchers, our folks that are faculty, all our folks are doing to really improve that food system. The Series wheat variety, founded here 100 years ago, has transformed not only farming and agriculture and wheat in this state, it's used around the world. And that's something a lot of people don't get. If it works in North Dakota, it'll work in another country. And so it has those tentacles. And North Dakota State has had global impact for years in the ag sector in particular. And we haven't told that story well. We got to tell it better. And certainly my background in ag certainly positions me to have that voice. But it is an absolute strength of ours. We're excited about it, and we are looking forward to growing agriculture with the people of North Dakota, with this region. I was with the governor last night, and he made this statement. It was a very interesting statement. We had some students at the governor's residence last night in Bismarck, and for an event we were doing, and he said these words. He said, in every single community, he said we are an oil and gas and an agricultural state. That's true. He said, but one thing you're going to find, you won't find oil and gas in every community. You will find agriculture in every community. And I thought it was very insightful. Mm-hmm. And he shared with them that you're going to be connected with ag, the food ag system, wherever you go. And I appreciate the governor saying that, because it was a great voice. And his recognition of that certainly positions us again well for what we want to do at NDSU.
Somebody said, wow, this guy is inspiring. I had little hope for my son's dreams coming to fruition due to the economy. And I could go on and on and on. I'm sure he thanks you for the compliment, but my point is this. That's a parent.
Yep.
That's a parent. And, she's not talking about money. Yep. She's talking about whether or not her boy succeeds.
Well, and I think that's what it's all about. I think about my own parents. They were good people. We lived in rural part of the state. I go back to those teachers. They inspired my parents and said, your oldest son, needs to go to North Carolina State University. I want to do the same thing for parents in this region. There's a path. If a young person and their family want a 4-year degree, or they want to come to us and get whatever, credential, certificate, whatever, we can create a path for that, and we will do that. I will commit that to the people. It doesn't have to break your bank account to do it. We can figure that out, because we're here to serve, and that is our job, is to serve the people, to serve the economy, to serve the region, and to do good things. And if you do the right thing and do the good things well, good things happen. And that brings support. It brings people together. And again, NDSU gets better. But more importantly, those people's lives get better. And our job is to create those future pathways for that future generation to achieve those dreams that your listener is talking about.
You bet. Dr. Stewart, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving us some of your time, and look forward to more conversations.
It's been awesome. Thank you very much.